Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you this evening. We're so glad that you could come to this annual meeting. A couple of things I want to say as we get started tonight. First, just thank you for coming, being interested in the life of our church. Secondly, isn't it nice to gather for a church-wide meeting that's not tense? Can I get an amen? Oh. In the life of the Methodist Church, there's been a practice for a charge conference. And it's looked different ways, but the primary goal was to be a celebration of the ministry of the church with reports being given, ministry reports and administrative reports. And the idea is that the church would come together and receive these reports and let them be not only information, but a great celebration for what God's done in our midst. And what we know is that it's also a place of transparency. It's a place where we can all make sure you're hearing all the information that we have. And so that's the goal of this meeting, and our goal is to do this annually. At the end, I'll be giving an update on our affiliation process. But right now, as we're untethered, it's a really good idea, we feel, to have a meeting like this, to be together and to make sure we're all on the same page. So that's why we're gathering up here tonight. This is our first time to do it. That's not been a bunch of reports that go to a district superintendent that you mostly don't see. This is our first time to do this in a way that is in front of everybody, that's just right here. And so it may not be perfect tonight. We would love your feedback, gently. Afterwards, just to let us know, maybe are there things that we could do a little bit better? Is there information that was lacking that you'd like to hear? And we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end as well. But all of that to say, this is our chance to look back over 2023, which was a really big year, and give God thanks for His faithfulness, and then to look ahead in what's coming here in 2024. So thank you for coming and being invested in it. We're going to split the night into two different pieces. The first, we're hopefully only going to be here for about an hour, okay? When I say the night, I just mean the next hour. John Green is our new chair of our lay leadership team, and so he's going to present to us tonight our administrative reports, just some numbers and some details about some things coming from our administrative committees, and then I'll be getting up to share about our ministries. We're going to give you as many numbers as we can. We're going to help you kind of get a picture of the life of the church. And so I'm going to invite John to come up, but as he comes up, I want to, some of you may not have any idea who this man is. You probably all know who he is. John's been a part of our church for about 30 years. What did you say? He goes to the other church. He goes to 945. He's usually, yeah, that's right. He's usually behind this drum set right here. And John's been a part of our church for 30 years. He's got an incredible story of how God moved in his life through Walk to Emmaus that he would love to tell you on a different night. But he's been a faithful member of this church. And so when the LLT asked him to be the chair, one of the things that was key in that was that he is not just someone who is good at leading. He was the county ag agent for how many years?
Here?
Yeah.
43.
23 years here in Parker County. And he led that really well. But that's not the only reason he's our LLT chair. He's also a man of God. He has a deep spiritual life. He prays. He listens to the conviction of the Holy Spirit. And that's what we want for our leader. And so I'm grateful that John Green has stepped in. He's filling some massive shoes. Tom Lockery served in this role for 4 years. Tom led us through really tough moments. He led us through COVID and a disaffiliation. And he did so with incredible grace and a lot of confidence in the Lord. And so I'm really grateful for him. And so John is stepping into this role, and we are all very confident that he's going to be able to do such an amazing job as well. So John's going to come and present us here tonight.
Thank you, Joseph. wasn't a job I pursued, actually. I was asking, and I thought, I think I can turn that down and get away with it. And my first response was, let me pray on that. And I did. And after that, I thought, I can still turn it down. And as the days went by, God convicted me, and I shared with Joseph how all that happened. That's a whole other story, but he convicted me that I should do this. And so here I am. So we'll see how it goes. And I appreciate the LLT's confidence in electing me, and it is large shoes to fill following Tom Locker. And I don't think Tom's here. Tom, Becky, okay. But I think the world of them and appreciate all that he did ahead of me. Tonight, we're going to just kind of go through some things that, that the church does, all the different committees, the leadership teams and all that. And there may be some questions. We'll see how that goes because I'm not sure that I can answer all of them. But we will proceed and hopefully you can just kind of get a run through here of 23. First off, I think you've got a handout here. Everybody get one of these that's got that on the front and that on the back. Okay, very good. You can see there who your leadership team is, and that's the new, it's called lay leader team. For those of you that's kind of a new term, we're used to administrative leadership team, ALT instead of LLT. But you can see there who everyone is on that particular committee. That trustee 24 is actually filled. And so those are your folks that are actually on the LLT coming into this year 24. And then on the back, you see each of the other committees. The Board of Trustees, that name stayed the same. All the various people that are serving on that team. And Todd Limbacher has agreed to chair that committee. Thank you, Todd. Next is the Personnel Committee, and that is what many of us have known for years as the SPR. And now it's the Personnel Committee, and that is being chaired by Gloria Moody. Moody. Is Gloria here? Yeah. Yes. Thank you. And then, of course, the Finance, Stewardship, and Endowment Committee is next. And on chair there, that's Frank Martin. And I saw Frank, I think, here in the center. Thank you, Frank, for chairing that. And so those are your committees for 24 and who leads them and who's on them. And let's just give all those folks a hand for serving for our church. Thank you. And I would also add that as the year goes by, there may be some people rotate off. And so if you feel led to maybe serve on one of these committees in the future, keep that in mind because, new people are needed to come in pretty regular. So keep that in mind. If you're willing to serve, you can contact me or one of the chairs or Joseph and maybe get you filled in a spot on one of those. And we talked about the Personnel Committee, and I want to say a few things about the Personnel Committee, which is, again, formerly the Staff Parish Relations. I'd like to recognize that group for a couple of things some of you may not have known about. They actually recognize or offer treats to the staff on Staff Appreciation Day, and I didn't know that. That's pretty cool that they do that. And that's once a month. They also help celebrate staff birthdays. And that's cool too. And then also this committee was busy in this past year, as y'all know, hiring a new youth minister co-directors. And they're here, Abby Hammersley and Jason Roberts. Thank y'all for serving. Let's give them a hand too. They're doing a good job. Also hired this past year was our new children's ministry director, Ginger Morrison. And Ginger's right here. Good job. Thank you. And they actually approved the hiring of our new pianist, Cole McLeod. And I don't think I've seen Cole here. But anyway, he's done a good job too. So, in other words, this committee, this group's been busy doing some new hires. And as you know, our staff here at First Methodist is a wonderful, wonderful staff. Personally, I think I would put our staff up against any church staff in the area. Now, I'm not saying it's a competition, but it's a good staff. So let's just show our love to our staff with a big round of applause for all of them. Thank you. Thank all of y'all. So I think next, if I'm not mistaken, we're going to go to finance. Yes. Oh, not yet. Okay, finance. In the year of 2023, after going through the disaffiliation process, and we're actually proud of how that took place. Good job on that, I thought. We lost a few members. There were some expenses associated with the disaffiliation process. But still, in 2023, we finished the year in the black with over $30,000 to spare. So that's outstanding. Outstanding. And some of, I'm telling y'all a lot of things. I'm not responsible for any of this. But it's great. It's great news. It just shows what's been going on. So the next slide, it'll show, I think, a couple of charts with this one right here. I think everybody got something similar to this. As you'll see, kind of I guess that would be the overall kind of operating expenses. The first column on the left, $847,752, which makes up 85.5% of the 23 budget. You can see there it's programs, building and grounds, operating costs, staff, and then designated expenses. Next, of course, our next two columns are both missional giving. And you can see just in Parker County, over $66,000. And then that went to local agencies, Love WISD, and the Benevolence Fund. And we get quite a few of those requests out of that Benevolence Fund. And it's a great thing that our church can meet that. And then around the world and also other places in our country, you can see there, UMCOR does a great job in what they do. We have donated to that for years. Operation Christmas Child, this church really steps up in that every year. And then the denominational giving, which is basically apportionments and so forth. But overall, total missional giving, 14.5%. That's a large part of our budget, and I think that's outstanding just due to the fact that we're not bringing in money to try to take care of ourselves, but the community, and 10% is considered tithing, and we're giving 14.5%, and that's just an awesome thing. So I think there again, the church is doing well. I think the next slide should be maybe the 24 budget. Our approved operating budget for 2024 is $890,300, as opposed to $905,000 for 2023. So you'll see that there's a $15,000 decrease in our budget, which is unheard of. But due to not having the apportionments obligation this year, that's where that comes in. The apportionments obligation is not going to be, near like it used to be in the past when we were associated with United Methodist. And then notice that's new for 2024 is also there is a line item in there just for missions. So that's going to be our total budget for the operating year of 2024. Any questions on any of that? And if there are, we're going to refer them to Frank. Does that look good, Frank? Is that good? And then under trustees, do we have, let's see, where are we at? I guess keep going. Yeah. Under trustees, as most of you know, we've really had some major projects that have come about that we need to work on. And this trustees committee, and Todd can tell you, they've been planning for a while to do work on the bell tower, to install a new pipe organ, and also possibly purchase the White House over on Elm Street. And I think now, as far as looking at capital improvements, which is all those would be, I'm going to call on Joseph to take over that portion and kind of explain in detail a little bit more than I can. Thank you.
Thanks, John. This is a little brief thing from the trustees, some of the minor things that happened in 2023. There's always projects going on. As Tara Lothridge could tell you, there's almost always an AC that needs to be fixed. There's almost always a leak somewhere that we're trying to get plugged. And there's just always little things like that. But some of the things that we did this year to improve our campus was trimming the trees. And then Ginger got together a great team up on the third floor of this building, and they just totally redid the whole thing. And it looks really amazing up there. If you haven't been up, they'd love for you to go up and see that. And then Diana Dirk, along with plenty of other people, but Diana really led the charge to redo and reorganize our archives room, which is downstairs. And we hope at some point we can have that available for people to go in and see some of our archives. But there's really a lot of the great history from our church is down there, and it was in need of great organization. And so we're really thankful for Diana stepping into that. Robin, if you'll go to the yeah, absolutely. If you'll go to the next slide there. So we have 3 big projects this year that are going to come in to play, and it's not that we plan to do them all in 2024, but these have been really long moments of preparation to get to this place. And of course, the biggest one is going to be our bell tower. So about a week ago, we signed a contract with a contract company. The name is just slipping me off the top of my head, Jim. Resto House. Richard Obenhouse is the contractor. He has a long history working with historic preservation, especially bell towers. And he's worked with our architect, who also has a long history working in historic preservation. And we're going to begin that project somewhere here, hopefully within this next month. We have our first pre-construction meeting happening on March the 18th. And this is a massive project that is it's going to require scaffolding to come in to the outside of our bell tower, and they'll be working to basically reskin the entire bell tower. By skinning, we mean the bones are in good shape, but the metal sheeting around the outside and the plywood or wood that it's attached to needs to be redone. It's been struck by lightning at least twice, once while I've been here and once right before I got here, and it's 130 years of history, so it's probably more than twice. And there's been no grounding put into it, so we're going to add a grounding pole into that because it has ruined some of our electronics multiple times. Most notably, it has messed up our carillon system. You've noticed maybe if you've been around the neighborhood, you have not been hearing the bell ring, and that's because the lightning knocked it out. We expected to start this project 3 years ago, and so we just said, let's wait on the carillon until we get this project up and going. And now, 3 years later, we're still waiting on the carillon system as we get started with this project. So hopefully all of that will be coming together. The total cost of that is going to be somewhere around $1.7 million. That includes my mind's blank because I preached this morning, a contingency fund that we are putting in ourselves just to make sure we have enough cash on hand. We've already been given an $800,000 donation to go towards that. Yes, absolutely. And so we'll be raising almost $1 million to make this project, to finish this project, along with money that we're going to end up raising later in the year when we start our organ project. So it's going to be a big year for fundraising in this church. And I say that with a little bit of trepidation because you hate to be the deliverer of news like that, but also this is something that not only do we need to do, but we want to do. And the congregation, you guys have been behind it, and so this is the beginning of our ask for the congregation to go this extra mile in your giving to help us to be able to pay for these repairs and for these new things. And so you will begin to see some communications to you at your house. You'll hear about it in different places. We're not going to hammer everyone with fundraising. That's not our goal. But we do need to raise the money to do this. Of course, you may say, why are you just not telling us about raising money, but they're already starting the project? There's a couple of reasons for that. We've realized that we've been waiting to do this for 3 or 4. You remember when I was going on sabbatical, I said we're going to need to raise money for this. And here we are 2 years later, almost 3 years later. What we want to do is make sure that the projects have started before everyone can see them, so we can begin to raise the funds for that. The $800,000 is going a long way to get us started. And then we've opened up a line of credit with Texas Methodist Foundation, which has basically been our bank for a long, long time. We have our endowments sitting in Texas Methodist Foundation. Those are endowments that have a principal amount we can't touch, and we're going to be able to use those as collateral to start the loan process and get us into position to make this project happen. But of course, the more we can raise, the easier it is for us to not have to pay back any loans. And so all of that begins now. Here we go. Gun goes off. You're going to begin seeing this project happen. And it's going to take, hopefully it won't take you by surprise, but you're going to see it. It's going to be scaffolding outside our bell tower for a long period of time. Our goal is to not have to leave the sanctuary. Our goal is to be able to create a new ramp over here, a temporary ramp, so that we can still get into the sanctuary, so we can still worship here. It's possible that may not happen. And so if that does, we have a plan for worshiping in the short term in the Family Life Center. We'll have to renegotiate times and all that stuff, but we will let you know if that's the case. Right now, we're all planning to stay in here and continue worshiping. But your entrance will be right here. One of the things we're telling the city is this is a historic preservation, and it's the skyline of our city. I mean, you look back on all of our old pictures, it's the skyline of our city. And it's important for us to do this. It also, the history of a bell tower or a steeple is that it is a symbol standing high in front of the city to tell people this is where you can find Christ. And that's what we intend this to be. something that looks good and is inviting. And so we're going to restore this beautiful bell tower back to its prominence, and it's exciting to be able to do this. If you'll go to the next slide, Robin, this is just zoomed in on that picture you're looking at. This picture is from the early 1900s. And you'll see that the color is different than it is now. At some point along the way, everything was whitewashed. But architecturally speaking, what that means is you don't get to see what the architects designed this bell tower to look like. And so we're going to be going back to the original colors of the bell tower, which will look very similar to the courthouse. We'll be able to reestablish the beauty of this bell tower. Even those finials, which are the 4 separate little house-looking things, those will be restored to look like they do now. Some of them are kind of leaning a little bit. And so we'll get those back into shape. And the split at the top that you've noticed, that will go away as well. Any questions about the bell tower project? We'll be giving you as much information as we can. We're going to try to keep that in front of you as much as possible so you're aware of all the different phases and stages of this project. There was a moment 3 years ago where we were organizing a hot dog day where we could stand out and watch them remove it with a helicopter and then rebuild it in the parking lot and put it back with a helicopter. That would have been really awesome, but it would have cost much, much more, and so we bailed on that idea really quickly. I do want to say a great big thanks for 2 people. There's many, many people who've been a part of this, but John Padani, for years, has been pushing this project because he knows how important it is. And he did a lot of legwork to get us started on this project. And then Jim Scheidler has stepped in the gap to say he will lead this project. He did project management for many, many years for Lockheed. And we're grateful for Jim stepping into this role because it is a huge, massive project. And thank God he loves to do Excel spreadsheets. Yes. He has already led well, and we're really grateful for your work in that, Jim. Of course, our second big project is that we were donated an organ a few years ago as well. That's being restored currently. It's a very slow process, mostly because the organ restoration guy who's going to be putting it in has been working on other projects that have been delayed. David Cosby, is he here tonight? There you go. David is going to be running that project for us, which we're very grateful for as well. That organ is currently in a storage facility in Aledo, and they go and get pipe after pipe and do the restoration process. And we're hoping by the end of the summer or the early fall that project will begin as well. You've seen pictures in the past. Unfortunately, I didn't get a picture up, but where these screens are here, that's actually just speakers behind that the organ plays. That is going to be filled with all of the pipes, and it's going to be absolutely gorgeous, curving up around the Jesus window, and so we'll still retain that piece, and it's just going to be a beautiful thing. I think we'll become only the second church here in Weatherford that will have a pipe organ. Is that right? Are we the second? Yeah. So get ready for Karen to organize a lot of concerts. We're going to need to raise $250,000 for that project, and we've already had $50,000 donated for that, and so we'll continue to keep you posted on that fundraising as well, and we're really grateful for the opportunity there. Thirdly, the last capital improvement is the White House. We call it the White House. It's there on Elm Street. The Couches own that house, and they approached us a few years ago and said, we're about to sell the house. Would you like to buy it? And we said, yes, we would love to buy it. It was part of our overall master plan many years ago to buy all of the property between Columbia and Lee Street on this side of the creek. And that's just another opportunity to do that. We're going to purchase that for $200,000, but we've already had $133,000 of that given, so we just lack $67,000 on that project, and we should get there fine as well. Those are all of our capital improvement projects. Any questions from you about any of those projects? Yes, Kitty. Yes. Okay, so there are lights in it now, and they light up only at night. And so by the time you wake up in the mornings, it's usually gone. But yes, the stained glass, which was not original to it, but was made by Sheila Kumar, one of our members, will remain in there. Just an interesting fact, if you're standing down here and you look up, you can see that there's like something filling the glass. Those are dead bees. I have no idea how. Excuse me. No idea how, but those will be removed, and we'll seal those again in a new way, and so they'll go right back where they were.
Joseph, you've been very specific about the structural constraints of the bell tower. As a about not the front, but the back of how we're going.
Yeah, so if you couldn't hear, the question was, what happens if the organ's really loud? I'm rephrasing your question. What happens if the organ's really loud and the children can't meet? And the answer to that is, I have no idea, but go for it, Carol.
When they put in a new organ, they do what's called voicing it so that it fits the space that it is going to go in. It's not going to overwhelm, like, go out the windows or anything. And having wood on the ceiling is a good thing. We belong to a church. They had to take all the acoustical tiles off, but it's right. That's where it's supposed to be. But they voice it or tune it, whatever, so that it will work with the space. It's not overwhelming.
That's helpful. And, of course, life is full of adaptation. And so if there are things that we need to change, we'll change them, and we'll work hard to make that happen. But, yeah, and, of course, we do have the children in mind and of course, want that to be successful. Yes, Stephanie. People hate the mic.
Hold on. Okay. Since this is a historical building, are there other grants that we might qualify for, like through the city or the state or something like that, to restore it?
The answer to that is there are some grants that are available, but the ones that we have looked in are not available to us. Primarily historical preservation, and especially in places of worship, those grants are for churches that cannot afford to do it. And especially since we've already been given an $800,000 gift, we're not in line for those grants. Carol? So the White House, I can't remember the actual address number, but if you're standing on the porch of the Family Life Center looking down the steps, the house that's straight across, it's a white colored house. It's the only one with the fence around it. The other house in the block is the stone house. And eventually it'd be great if we could purchase that house. It has a pool in the backyard, and we could have our staff meetings there. The anticipation is that the White House probably will be torn down. It is not in great shape. And we will need to expand our parking territory. A number of years ago, we had put in someone's will enough money to be able to build a youth building. And so we're anticipating that we'll use the south parking lot for that. And then eventually we'll have all of our parking on one side of the street. I know that is cringy to have to knock down some historic houses, but not every house needs to stay up. And this is one of them that is in pretty bad shape. The stone house is not that case, but we also don't own that one. So, any other questions about that, John?
Did they give a timeline on the repair of the bell tower?
Is it 8 months, Jim? Timeline on the bell tower? That doesn't help me. 270 days. 9 months. All the teachers in the room are rolling their eyes. Why did you? Yeah. Harry? We do still own the apartment buildings. In essence, those break even. We own 8 apartment buildings just on the north side of the creek. And we are one of the only apartment complexes in the city of Weatherford that allows for housing vouchers, which is a huge problem in the city. We have a growing homeless population, and the only answer to the housing problem is not necessarily a shelter. Shelters just help in momentary basis, but affordable housing is the big key. And every time a new apartment complex comes in, their rent is $2,000 a month, and it's not affordable. And so we've been able to be a unit that allows for housing vouchers, and so it's been a ministry to our area for sure. It breaks even. I don't anticipate we'll have those forever, but right now it does seem to be helpful. Our most notable tenant was Nona Jones, and she died this last year. Her sister-in-law, her brother and sister-in-law still live in apartment number 1, and so we're kind of caring for her and them in her name. But they're all full right now, and we own those apartments. Okay, Robin, if you'll go to the next slide, we want to celebrate our ministries, what has happened in the life of our church through ministry. And so first we want to look at worship. You can go down to slide 19, actually, Robin. We just wanted to give you our average worship attendance in 2022. We averaged 301 people in worship on a Sunday morning, and that is 49 people at the 8:30 service, 50 people at the 9:45 service, and 128 at the 11 o'clock service. We're still having 55 people join us online. This is 2022, mind you. Excuse me. We're still having 55 people join us online then. If you go now to 2023, you'll see that over this last year, even as hard as it was, we're averaging 313 people in worship. So we jumped 12 people in worship on average each Sunday. 48 people at 8:30. 9:45 has grown significantly to 60 people averaged in worship. And 11 o'clock averages 137. And you can see we're still seeing almost 50 people online. Excuse me. Gratefully, I didn't have to cough all morning, but now you're getting it. What you'll see in the next slide is our membership numbers. One of the biggest questions was what happened in 2023 with the disaffiliation. It was a really hard moment for us, and there certainly were people who decided that they didn't want to be a part of our church after the vote. But what we saw was over the course of the year, we gained 43 new members. Only 26 of them transferred out. 26 of our members transferred out. That's official. There may be other people who didn't write us a letter or didn't go to another church and join yet. Their membership still lies with us, but they may have said, we don't want to be a part of the church anymore. But what we have seen officially is that 26 people have left and 43 people joined. We also had to say goodbye to 12 people who died this past year, which is a little bit of a higher number, but much better than 2021, where we buried 19 people. So we lost some really wonderful members this past year, which we got to celebrate on All Saints Sunday. But those are always hard numbers to look at there. We are grateful, though, for the new members who have joined. And here in 2024 already, we've had 17 new members join as we've started the year. As you move into the next slide, what we'll see is just a brief little report from Contemporary Worship, and you may not be able to read it, but we had a growth in attendance at 9:45, which we're celebrating. And you can see the support of some sound system here that seems to have done really well, helped out a lot. in our hearing of not only music but speaking. And we've been able to see a little bit of cross-pollination between traditional and contemporary worship. Karen has come and sang with the band some, and Robin and Jill have come and led some special musics for us in traditional worship, and so that's been really great to build unity and let people see who are on our staff. On the next slide, you'll see for the year ahead, you're going to see some more of the same as far as being able to see Robin and Jill in the traditional service and Karen in the contemporary service. But what Robin is anticipating doing is launching a monthly creative people gathering to encourage creativity in our congregation. Musicians, writers, poets, artists, all wanting to start up after Easter to join together and try to just help each other in our creativity and our act of worship that is creative. We're also going to be having some worship and arts nights in the fall. And there was the debut of an all-women's worship team at the at the women's brunch, and so that was really great. And then, just a plug for our contemporary worship team. They're praying for the Lord to bring more musicians, especially an electric guitarist and a violinist. So, if you go to the next slide, in traditional worship, of course, the choir was most profoundly affected by the disaffiliation. They lost 7 choir members. And that's tough. That's really tough. And so it's been amazing to watch Karen lead the choir through that and see redemptive growth in our choir over these last 9 months. They have seen 6 new choir members. And we've been able to see orchestra in worship at Easter and Christmas. And then recently you've noticed we've been having some special guests. That cello today was amazing. And the anthem with it was just incredible. It's such a gift to our church to be able to have the choir that we have. We saw 200 people attend our Christmas pageant this year, which was really amazing. 70 of those were the cast and crew, which is nuts. And then, of course, we had the fun baptism party on June the 25th. Why did we do it on June the 25th? It was my fault. I have no idea, but it was so hot. But what a wonderful day where we had 3 baptisms and 12 reaffirmations down at the Hards place, and that was really wonderful. We hope to do it again this time in early May. If you'll go to the next slide there. For traditional worship in 2024, you heard me say this morning that the choir is headed to New York City in May. They're going to be debuting a Heather Sorensen piece at Carnegie Hall, which will be awesome. You guys you went to Carnegie Hall right before I came, I believe. Yeah. And then the pipe organ install, which we told you about earlier. And then the choir is going to be going to a choral clinic at Lovers Lane United Methodist Church in October. They've been there before, and they come back excited and singing loudly. So we're excited for that. And then a wonderful anonymous gift that was given to the choir to hire 2 bass scholarship students. You may have noticed them in the choir, sitting right in the middle. One of them, frankly, has looked a little bit lost. He's not churched, I think. And so it's wonderful that he's here to be a part of our ministry and to experience the Lord's presence here and help us by being a strong base. They're a Weatherford College student, so that's really wonderful. Karen has taken on a role of doing some voice lessons at Weatherford College, and so it's tapped us into a new level of talent that we're really excited to be able to see. Okay, the next slide, the next thing is our children's ministry. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, no, you can just leave it. I'm sorry I'm so much trouble today. It's terrible. Our children's ministry, if you go to the next slide, Robin, in 2023, we had a great vacation Bible school. It just so happened that we told Ginger, hey, this is your first day, so you don't need to be in charge of VBS. And then people got sick, and we were like, Ginger, we need you to start. And she stepped in as if she'd been doing it for years. And we had a wonderful vacation Bible school. We've restarted our Wednesday night kids music, led by Johnny Young and Barbie Newton. It's really wonderful. We have relaunched a Sunday school program as well. Children's Church meets in the prayer chapel. And Ginger has started 2 ministries during the week called Pray and Play, one for infants on Monday mornings and one for big kids on Wednesdays, where parents can come, the kids can play, and the parents can have some time to connect and pray together over stuff happening in their lives. That's been a wonderful thing. And then, of course, we've had quite a few family events that have been really fun. My favorite was the gingerbread night, gingerbread house night. That was really a lot of fun. We've watched movies, we've done arts and crafts, and it's been wonderful. Cherie Walton runs our nursery, and she does an amazing job of doing that. In fact, I'll make a plug for her. She always needs volunteers to serve in the nursery. But one of the things that she did this past year was she had a CPR training class organized. And we were all able to go and learn CPR. And that was really wonderful, not only for the nursery, but it's good to learn that anyway. Looking ahead on the next slide, we're going to be having a garden party and egg hunt on March the 23rd. That's exactly as it sounds. We're going to be having a party in the garden. There's going to be some activities for the kids along with an egg hunt, and it's going to be a blast. We would love for you to be there. This is a church-wide event, not just for kids. So we would love for you to come. Also, Vacation Bible School this year is on June the 10th through the 13th. We're trying to make it a little bit earlier this year so that even our teachers can be involved. And then we're sending kids to Glen Lake Camp on June the 16th through the 21st. So if there are any of you who have kids or grandkids who are a part of the elementary age, we'd love for them to go with our church to Glen Lake Camp. And then there's the goal of adding a second Sunday school class so that we could have a K through 2 and a 3 through 5. You can go to the next slide there. And this is our youth ministry. Again, new youth directors, co-youth directors, and we're really grateful for the 2 of you. They're seeing 15 to 20 students every week who are part of their ministry, half and half, middle school and high school. I'll just say there are a lot of middle school boys. And we were having an AC problem in the youth room for a while. You put those 2 together. But one of the things we've seen that's been really fun is that we've had a lot of new students who've been coming from Weatherford Christian School. And so we have a good mix of Weatherford Christian School, Weatherford High School students. And that's been really wonderful to see them grow together and to reach even more. What's the number at Weatherford Christian of unchurched? 60%. I know this sounds crazy. 60% of the enrollment at Weatherford Christian School are not engaged in the church. And so it's been neat for us to be able to engage more on that campus and see more of them coming to our church. We also have a lot of new students who are coming regularly, and our students are the ones that are inviting them, and that's really fun to see. What you'll see in the next slide is that the way they operate in youth is dedicated small groups, high school, middle school, where they're really building a community of support. They've had some honest discussions, and they talk about really helpful, good things that all teenagers need to discuss. And some of you may blush if you're in the room, but that's what you have to do in youth ministry, and it's been really wonderful. We trust our own kids with Abby and Jason, and we're so grateful that they are in our kids' lives. Discipleship is definitely happening. These kids are learning more and more what it means to follow after Jesus. Okay, and then in the next slide, just some successes that they want to share is that in June of this year, they're going to be taking a high school mission trip down to Austin, Texas. So that's all rising ninth graders through graduating seniors. You guys are going to be working at a horse therapy farm, is that right? Wow, just one of the days. Okay, well, they're going down to Austin to do some mission work. Mentorship is happening from high school to middle school, which is fun. And actually, 2 of our high schoolers have been helping with the kids' choir. Oh, they're singing. Jonna says they're not helping, they're singing. And then new students who are coming are something to celebrate. And then just relationships growing between the students and Jason and Abby and our volunteers. Stephanie's one of them. John Besselow's another. They're every week. And they're really forming some wonderful relationships that, those are the relationships that I still have with people from when I was in youth. And so it's so valuable. So we're really grateful for our children's and our youth ministries. Can we just say thanks to them? Sure. Okay, let me just do it in order so they can see. Ginger Morrison, stand up. This is our children's minister. Abby Hammersley. Just don't want to create any confusion. And Jason Roberts. That's Ginger. She just stood up. Okay, then, and our next slide is for college. Bo's doing a wonderful job in our college ministry. Y'all, I wish that you knew what Wesley Foundation Ministry was on campus for all of these years. Bo is doing an incredible job. He has developed deep-seated relationships on campus. So he has started a weekly Bible study on campus during lunch where he's seeing 11 to 15 people show up every week. That's unheard of at Weatherford College. So we're really grateful that he's doing that. A lot of that has to do with his hard and fast commitment to be there on campus regularly and getting to know students. He's been connecting with students in their classes. He's been going to be a part of co-ed softball and field nights on Wednesdays. If you see him leave a little early, that's because he's going out to the softball fields. This last week he was complaining coming back in Thursday that he was a little sore. And then he's been doing weekly one-on-one discipleship with 4 different students. And that's just wonderful ministry. That's the heart of what we want in reaching that campus. It's tough for us because we don't always see the fruit of that from the standpoint of college students in our midst. But that's not why you do college ministry. Not so that we can benefit from it, but so that we can make disciples who are going to go out in the world and make other disciples. And Bo's doing a wonderful job of doing that. He's also continually building relationships with the faculty and the staff there on campus. So we're really grateful for Bo's work as well, so we can give him a hand. Moving into our ministry as adults. Look, this is too big just to celebrate everything that's being done. But just a few things I want us to celebrate. After 4 years, we're continuing to do Morning Watch, and we just celebrated our 1,000th Morning Watch, which was really fun a couple of weeks ago. That's been a great place of discipleship, actually. I have struggled for all of my ministry to teach people to read the Bible on a daily basis. And it turns out the secret is just to read it with them. And so that's really been wonderful. Early on, we were 6 months in, and I realized there are people on here who've been reading Scripture on a daily basis for 6 months, and they've never done that before. And so I asked people to give me stories. And people started saying, I'm in my 70s, and I'm reading the Bible on a daily basis for the first time ever. What a gift. What a gift that this has been. Not only that, but also to be able to pray for one another. It's been wonderful. We continue to have 8 ongoing Sunday school classes between the 9:45 and the 11 o'clock services. We have 4 ongoing weekly Bible studies. We had a 24-hour prayer vigil this past October. We plan to continue doing that at least once a year. We had our first men's retreat in any recent memory in May of 2023, and we are planning to do it again in April of this year as well. What's the dates? I'm sorry. I don't know why I wrote April. It is May. We were planning to do it in April. May 17th and 18th we'll be down at Glen Lake again. And then we had our first women's brunch this year, and we plan to have new brunches and an actual women's retreat here in 2024 as well. And then another fun thing to celebrate is we've had a lot of growth on our Wednesday nights. Pastor's Bible study has grown a lot, but we've been feeding, thanks to Barbara Hart and the Butter Babes, we've been feeding like 160. I know we thank them, but we don't thank them enough. They're up here from 1 o'clock until 8 o'clock, and they're incredible. So we're very grateful for y'all. But every week it seems that we are feeding more and more people, and it's been around 160 people, 150. We've been feeding. That's a lot of people that are coming through those doors, and so we're really grateful for that. If we turn our attention to missions, you can see that we've served our church family with many different mission projects, but we've been having our monthly missions of the month that have been a huge part of our ability to serve our community. Kitty Bartlett leads our efforts to regularly feed our shut-ins. So every Wednesday, there's a crew of people who come in and deliver meals that have been made in the kitchen to our shut-ins, and that's a wonderful ministry there too, because it's not just delivering food, it's also engaging with them. And we've also had missions of the month that have focused on our children and our youth. Of course, if you go to the next slide, we did some of our classic things that we're always going to do these things because this is a huge part of our community. We feed the clients at Center of Hope, which we've seen a massive growth in how many people are being fed there. We did a lot of great work with Love Weatherford ISD. We continue to give snacks for our school counselors to give to students who don't have food during the day. That's primarily with Hall Middle School, the 9th grade center, and the high school. We have our monthly food backpack ministry, which we gather up on what day do we gather? The first Wednesday? First Wednesday of every month to put together school backpacks to go to Eichard Elementary and Curtis Elementary. And then, of course, whenever there is a need, the counselors let us know, and we're purchasing clothing, shoes, and toiletry items for kids who don't have those things at school. It is often that someone will show up at school and they don't have socks, or the teachers have noticed that they're wearing the same clothes multiple days in a row. So we get a phone call. Cheryl Livengood is amazing at leading our missions team, but she primarily focuses on this aspect of our missions. They call Cheryl. She goes and buys things, takes them to the school, and it blesses a kid. And of course, we've been able to provide classroom supplies for teachers as well. Going to our next slide, we served our community with monthly breakfasts at Hearts Full of Love in 2023. But as 2023 came to a close, we put that to bed. We won't be doing that mission anymore, but we faithfully did that through 2023. We also had our Love Weatherford Day project, which was an incredible day to go and serve our community. Lots of fun. Many sunburns, but it was really a lot of fun. And then, of course, we get to help each summer with giving ice cream to some of the different Camp Hope gatherings, which are just a day camp for kids, kind of like a VBS that Center of Hope puts on each year. If you go to the next slide, you see that we also help to serve in the world. We sent out over 140 Operation Christmas Child boxes, which was a great success. Always so much fun to do. And ahead in 2024, we're looking forward to continuing everything that we've been doing, but we're welcoming in these two new ministries, our card ministry and our So Blessed ministry, which really this month we'll be hearing a lot about. We also have the opportunity to engage in Grace House Ministries this year, and so we'll be sharing more about that with you as that comes around. A lot of talking today. So the last thing I want to share with you is just a quick update on our affiliation process. Now, you remember that when we voted to disaffiliate in January of 2023, what we said was we're going to take our time figuring out where we affiliate. We put together a task force led by, I guess it was Matt Gallagher, Tom Lockery, Barb Boswell, Diane Judy. They were doing a lot of research on different denominations and found themselves sort of walking through a lot of information. And so they said, let's send out a survey to the congregation so we could figure out what it is that are the priorities of our congregation. And as that survey came back, well, first of all, they wanted me to say thank you for responding to that survey. We had nearly 200 of those surveys come back, which is really wonderful. That's wonderful numbers within our congregation. And as those came back, what they revealed was that most of the denominations, excuse me, I know that's really painful to watch, I'm sorry. Most of the denominations that had been researched had a trust clause, and that was something that our congregation was not interested in having again. And so what it meant was a regional network was an option that we wanted to look at, along with the potential of the global Methodist Church. But neither of these, as is described, is fully put together, nor is comfortable for us to join in the moment. We described it as a plane flying as it was being built. Both of those seem to still be happening. And so what LLT has decided is that we are not in a hurry. If we were in a place of struggle as a congregation, if we were without a pastor, it would be a different moment for us. I think we'd have to make a decision more quickly. But the successes that we've just talked about from this past year, all of the hopes that we have for the year to come, some reorganization that we've been able to do, like new bylaws, we're set in place to be able to do well, untethered. However, we really are not interested in staying untethered. It doesn't seem to be healthy. The question remains, though, as Wesleyans and people committed to be connected, what does connectionalism look like? Does it have to be a denomination? Or can it be something different? And so we have a lot of time and space to ask that question and watch some of these things develop along the way. One regional network has developed, but it's primarily for clergy. It's called the Order of Wesleyan Clergy. Doesn't that sound really interesting? The Order of Wesleyan Clergy. And that's being organized by First Methodist in Mansfield and St. Andrew in Plano, who have collectively come together to say, we want accountability as clergy. We want an avenue for people to be able to hear a call and to be raised up and to be ordained. And we want some encouragement all along the way. And so they're starting this Order of Wesleyan Clergy. And I personally have dipped my toe into the Order of Wesleyan Clergy. They've invited me to be a part of an interview process for one of their early ordinands. And so I'm going to participate in that. I was on the Board of Ordained Ministry for many years in the United Methodist Church, and so I know that process, and I'll be helping with that. It's also become a place of camaraderie for me. And so I'm looking for this group to, at least in the short term, be a place of accountability and support as we move forward. Right now, it's just for clergy, but we're trying to figure out if it spills over into the local church, and that's part of the plane that's being built, as it's beginning to fly. That's our update. All of that to say, we're just being patient, and we've learned that is the most important thing. If I would tell you one thing that I learned over this past year trying to help lead through this disaffiliation process, that would be patience is really important. I can't tell you how many moments I began to act in impatience, and someone like Deborah Crone or Tom Lockery said, hey, why don't you give it a minute? And it turns out God put the pieces together before we even needed to do anything, And so we're just believing that that same God who led us through that is going to lead us through this. And we're not in any hurry. But we do invite any questions, any feedback, any thoughts. We would love to receive those from you. That's all the report. So any questions that you guys may have as before we close? Right. That's right. So what Harry's asking is, how does our untethered nature affect our ability to do world missions with larger organizations like UMCOR? And the answer to that is, it actually doesn't affect it at all. UMCOR would love our support. Any agency that we believe is doing a good job and that we want to continue to support, we actually have the freedom to support it as much as we want. And so actually, what feels like we're losing hold on maybe some global impact, it's actually giving us a chance to be even more impactful because we get to choose who it is that we support. That wasn't always the case with our apportionment dollars. Much of our apportionment money was actually going to administrative costs, paying for the salaries of people. Yeah, Nancy? That's a good question. I think that the emergency response team was a part of UMCOR, and so I think John Padani has already begun to do some research into what it might be to continue being a part of the emergency response team or an emergency response team that's a part of another organization. John Padani leads our ERT team. Rudy?
Church, you have done an excellent job of leading. You really have. I can't be more proud. This church has grown, and it is a place of worship. The projects that you're referring to, the mission projects and the things, we are doing them, and we're talking about doing them because we love people and we love serving Christ. It's not because of any other reason. Please understand, we're getting back to what it's about. The church is a church. All this other political stuff, please. This man is leading us exactly where we need to go. And I want you all to hear that and feel proud that we have him as a leader and a wonderful staff in support. I feel like I'm in good hands, and I'm one of these lost souls. I'm ordained in the United Methodist Church. I attend this church very proudly.
Thank you, Rudy. It's no lie. This has been a hard 4 years. It's been a really hard 4 years. And when we turned the corner into January, we started to feel it in the fall. But when we turned the corner into January, it felt like we were beginning to be able to lead in a way that was not encumbered by crisis. And I can't even tell you how much of a relief that is. It's been such a gift. And, Jason and I were just talking right before the meeting tonight. I have noticed, he was just telling me a story from his own life. We're watching the Holy Spirit move in a new way here. I have heard multiple stories from many of you of God putting you in places, what we would call a divine appointment, where God has called you to do something and you've said yes. And you've engaged in this ministry. And man, faith is being built, and people are being reached, and it's just it's a great gift to be able to do. I will tell you, there's no way I would have been as available to you all if my family was not as patient as they are. And so I'm really grateful for Mary Catherine and the kids. Any other questions about the things that we've shared? I just want you to know I'm extremely grateful to be your pastor, and it's a gift for me. I love it, and I'm really excited for what God has in store for us, not just in this year ahead, but in these next 10, 20 years. I'm so grateful. You know, I think this was a good marriage between us and you, and I couldn't be more thankful. And so I'm going to pray for us as we close, and we'll just leave it at that. Father, we're so thankful for you and for your guidance of our church, for the indwelling of your Holy Spirit in us, and for the King who sits on the throne. And we turn our attention to you fully with our lives, with the missions and ministry of our church. And we say, Lord, come and have your way. Would you move in us? Would you inspire us? Would you call us up into places of creativity and faithfulness? All of this, Lord, to serve you and your kingdom. And so we offer this ministry to you in your holy name. Amen. Thank you guys for coming.